Soul Garden.
Your Sirius Step of the Day is sponsored by Soulmart.me. Watch, shop, learn.
Hello, my friend. Welcome to Step 5. Step 5 is I'm alive. That's how I think of it. And that's, I think, the realization. Step 5 is I think. And that's when your intellectual state of awareness comes online in the transit and you're comparing your intellect, or your intellect is kind of waking up in this month's transit. So today your intellect is waking up. And I always look at the number 5 on the dice. You know how it has like 4 dots and then 1 in the middle? Because it's kind of like that point where in 4 you reach balance, or you achieve what it will take, or you start to understand what's not appropriate in your structure. And so there's a breakdown in 4. Now 5 is usually the breakthrough. And the reason why it's the breakthrough is because the mind comes on and tries to put the pieces together. So the mind rules the day, the smartass. So this is a day when my smartass is smarting off to me all day long. And I'm in all sorts of conversation. And I have to say, the older I get, the more crazy I get. Because I talk to myself around the house all the time. And I'm sure it's why I go through roommates so quickly. But to me, it's really a process of when you can put it into word, you can see if it fits with other things in your life. And you do this compare and contrast with the duality of the twins, which is the Gemini. And I believe that Step 5, or the Gemini part of us, or the smartass, the reason why it's a twin is because one twin's job is to be out in the world interacting with the world, and one twin's job is to stand next to the king or queen. So the smartass is always over your shoulder. Remember, the solar system is the model for human consciousness. You have the sun, you have Mercury, right? So you have love, and orbiting around love you have the smartass. So it's really the closest thing to the king or queen. Our thoughts are the closest thing. And I think this is why in the Bible the Word was such a big deal when Creator had the Word. This is Mercury. However, as you know from watching any of my programming, our thoughts are just 1/12 of our states of awareness. And I believe that the twin's job is simply to stand near the heart with one twin, to stand near the gate to the castle with the other twin, and basically to be looking for matches to your heart. That's what your mind is doing, looking for a match to your heart. Therefore, your mind won't have the answer. Your heart will. Your heart will recognize the answer when your mind puts 2 and 2 together. But going in circles in your mind, that will not lead to the answer ever. That is just really what I call mental masturbation. And the smarter you are, the more likely you are to waste time in there debating things instead of going to source for the answer. Right here. Your heart, your inner child, the king or queen inside of your kingdom, in your royal states of awareness. So today it's about putting together why you broke down in the last couple of days. Today is about processing. Today is about finding information. Today is about talking to your friends. Today is about teaching people you know, because when you teach, you learn. And today is about networking, getting back to that dice, right? With the 4 dots and the 1 in the middle. That's the whole thing. In Step 4, you break down, and then in Step 5, you've kind of balanced, and that fifth dot is the 4 that was stable, reaching now out to a 5th. The 5th dot is the networking. The 5th dot is the friend that has the answer. The 5th dot is the library that had the book. The 5th dot is that piece of information that elevates you from state 4 to state 5, the next step. And it gives you the next step. And it's a relief step, because once you find that fifth dot, that fifth piece of awareness that's missing in the 4, of course you then want 6, because it's now not balanced, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. But you feel this relief in your mind. And that's something else I want to talk about today, because we're in chapter 1 of whatever state of awareness we're in at this time. We're in the very elementary parts of the transit. And so you can fall into what I call the dark sides of each of the states, or each of the steps. Each step has a way it can fall. Now, up until now, I've been talking about this, but not pointing it out so much, because now it starts to compound if you don't pay attention. In fact, it's the smartass, or our mind, that tends to multiply, like Gemini, any kind of issue, because our mind will connect those dots and make a fifth dot out of things that really aren't a fifth dot, or maybe shouldn't be a fifth dot, or maybe it isn't appropriate for us to be putting together those dots right now. So the smartass will put together dots you don't want put together. And this is where our mind must be managed. This is where Buddhism does a lot of teaching, where it says, hey, the mind's not everything, get in a spirit. And that's true. The mind is not everything, get in a spirit. That's why meditation is a super valid thing, because we want to say to our mind, you're not everything, smartass. There's a lot more to my spiritual wisdom than just what I think. All right? But thinking is important, and the secret's at it, thoughts become things. That's because your thoughts become policy in your mind. And so when you repeat thoughts over and over, you make policy. The rest of your soul is hearing these reports from your mind all the time. And so as you repeat thoughts, you tell your body things, you tell your soul capital things. You are repeating things on behalf of the king or queen. And so the rest of the solar system thinks this is policy. And so your defenses, your boundaries, everything. This is why it's not good to say stuff like, I'm dumb. Or it's not good to say, oh, I'm so stupid. Things like that, because you're actually affirming and reaffirming and reaffirming. And so, you make dumb mistakes on tests, because in that moment, you have talked yourself into being stupid. But you're not. You're just running this program. So the darker side of Mercury is really what we know as the devil. It's really what we know as Satan, because Saturn, which is actually Satan, uses the mind to control. So the mind is a puppet because it is connected to everything inside of us, and because it's connected to everything outside of us. Dark societies, religions, all sorts of things use the mind in order to imprison people. And really what it is that the mind is a duplicator. It's a Xerox machine. It will duplicate and connect to that fifth dot all the time. And so dark entities on the planet and people with negative intentions will simply plant ideas into human beings' minds, and the human beings will run with it on their own. There's no need to reinforce it. So today is also about, where's your mind not helping you? Where's the smartass not helping the king or queen? And this is where I say in my personal readings, you got to tell that smartass who's boss. We're right here. Don't smart off to me, right? The only answer that the smartass should be saying to the king or queen is yes and. Yes, Your Majesty, and how else can I help you? So it's like, my heart feels like ice cream. And the smartass says, you'll get fat. Sorry, smartass, off with your head. I'll have you killed. I'm the king or queen. Your answer is, yes, you may have the ice cream, Your Majesty, and maybe you should go for a walk because it could make you fat. That is how we want to program our mind, to be affirmative always to our heart. Yes, and. Yes, Your Majesty. Yes, and. And if the mind says no, well, why not? Whose law is that? That's the point when the king or queen turns to the smartest and goes, oh, you're not loyal to another king or queen, are you? Because if you are, off with your head. Geminis can be erased and redrawn. The brain can be reprogrammed. That's what religions have done, which means that whenever you find a thought process you don't like, you just reprogram that smartass. Because who you are is what you love, not what you think about it. All right, that's all for step 5. I love you, and I'll see you in step 6. Namaste.
Who cares?
So